Geoholic.
Ladies and gentlemen, and geoholics from around the globe, it's time for the podcast that puts the geo in geospatial. Give it up for our 2025 episode sponsor, a top heavyweight manufacturer of high-quality, high-precision GNSS receivers and software for all your mapping needs. The one, the only, AMLID.
Knockdown Snoop. Scared you for a minute, didn't I? You thought I forgot something.
I know.
Oh my goodness. Welcome back, Geoholics, episode 242.
242. We made it.
Happy New Year.
Happy freaking New Year.
I am so excited to be back. It's I feel like it's been forever since we recorded.
It has been a minute.
We had a nice break. Did you have a good holiday and everything?
I did. It was a nice break.
Nice.
It really was.
Good.
Was.
And we have Peter Cox with us to start off the year. Peter, how was your holiday?
Oh, good. Busy. Traveling all around, up, down, round, everywhere in my 2-week break. So I came back to work for a rest.
I hear you. But as listeners, you're going to see a lot of changes here in this episode. And hopefully it goes as planned, but there's a lot of moving parts, right? We've got a lot of new friends of the program this year.
We do.
We're working on ways to promote them. You just heard one of the pre-recorded little ring announcer bits that for some reason I just felt like we had to do that.
Yeah.
I thought it was. I was very passionate about having that done.
I know. I can tell.
I think it's going to work out just fine. Hopefully, everybody's going to enjoy it. And there's going to be a couple more surprises as we get through the episode. But
and maybe we're going to be surprised too.
Well,
we just don't know.
We will be surprised. Trust me, at some point.
We'll see.
No doubt about it. But anyways, let's move along here. Again, super excited about 2025. Got tons of conferences coming up that we'll be at this year.
Do.
Just like last year, even more. A bunch of new friends of the program that we're going to be sharing with you here very, very shortly.
Yeah, and we've added some more geo experts.
More geo experts. Yep. Yeah. Will Wing, welcome Will Wing to the family. Peta got a bit of a promotion. She got moved up to the top names.
I know. How exciting.
Pay stays the same, of course. Don't get too excited.
Yeah.
It is a zero pay promotion.
I know. That's okay.
The best kind. Oh, my goodness. All right, let's move along here to the Topodot Song of the Week. Topodot is a friend of the program, of course. It's been with us from the beginning and come back again for 2025. So we welcome Topodot. We appreciate them be a part of it. And you know Topodot as the industry leader in digital twin production from Point Cloud Data. But did you know that Topodot offers a total data governance solution for free? Remember, Ted told us about this.
We've been talking with Ted every time we've seen him about this.
Take control of your data with TopoShare. To find out more, of course, go to topodot.com. But catch Team Topodot at GeoWeek here in about 3 weeks. They'll be there. We'll be there. It's going to be a great show. And then, of course, that's in Denver, February 10th through the 12th. And better yet, check out the Topodot Users Conference.
We'll also be there.
It's
so the Geoholics will be there.
The Geoholics will be represented again this year.
Representing there, but Orlando, May 5th through the 9th.
Always a great event.
Yep.
So they're sponsoring the song this week. What do we got?
That was very true to my heart. Really glad that our guest chose these guys. Metallica. Sad But True was the song. Metallica, American heavy metal rock band. They were formed in 1981 in Los Angeles by vocalist, guitarist James Hetfield and drummer Lars Ulrich. There's been several different guitarists and bassists along the way. A lot of drama there. But Metallica has released 10 studio albums, 4 live albums, a cover album, 37 singles, and 39 music videos. They have won 9 Grammy Awards from 23 nominations and ranks as one of the most commercially successful of bands of all time, having sold over 130 million albums worldwide.
Wow.
Ridiculously successful.
Oh yeah. They're on a different level, and they have been able to maintain that for a surprisingly long time.
Yeah. Rock stars at the core.
Oh yeah,
No
absolutely.
doubt. Let's find out about our studio.
And now, stepping into the ring of innovation, where true professionals are made and Geo legends are born. Presenting our studio sponsor for 2025, the heavyweight trailblazer of reality capture and geospatial solutions, Altera Central.
Well,
Humor me. Yes. Of course, Altera Central is the authorized premier Trimble dealer for survey mapping, GIS, forensics, and marine equipment in Texas, Oklahoma, Arizona, and New Mexico. To find out more about them, go to alteracentral.com.
Yeah, we are super happy that they are coming back for 2025 as the studio sponsor.
We are indeed. They are a great partner for sure. We're going to do some great things with them this year as well. Next up, we have the Esri Weekly Pro Tip. Esri, of course, is advancing the power of geography for business, government, and society by making the world's most powerful GIS software. To find out more about Esri, go to Esri.com. What do you got for us this week, Sean?
Oh, I think the guys at Esri are going to like this one. Let's go here. All right, I like this. Our world is evolving without consideration, and the result is a loss of biodiversity, energy issues, and congestion in cities. But geography, if used correctly, can be used to redesign sustainable and more livable cities. Believe it or not, that is the impeccable Jack Dangermond, founder of Esri.
He's a rock star.
He is a rock star.
Indeed, he is. Indeed, he is. All right. Next up, we got the GeoSearch Career Corner.
All right, here we go. I'm really happy GeoSearch is back. We
again.
love these. With their targeted reach of over 34,000 followers on LinkedIn alone, GeoSearch connects you directly with individuals who match your job descriptions. Whether you're searching for technical experts or sales gurus, they've got you covered.
Their ad posting service includes complimentary internship postings on their job board, allowing you to attract emerging talent at absolutely no cost. That is a great idea, by the way. Visit geosearch.com to learn more about their cost-effective solutions and recruitment services. And as always, happy mapping. They love that. They love when we do that. All right, here's a new segment.
Up next, using hexagonal precision and innovation to deliver real-time corrections for all your mapping needs. We go to the judges' scorecard, showcasing the unstoppable growth of the world's largest decentralized GNSS network, the GeoNet Count of the Week.
This is a really exciting new friend of the program, GeoNet.
It is.
We met them at
Energeo
for the first time, and we were both absolutely blown away by what they're doing.
Saw them again at the Horizons Smart Drone.
Yes, that's right. They were
Drone Deploy.
Drone Deploy. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So GeoNet, of course, they are the world's largest blockchain-based RTK network, providing RTK service precise enough for professional survey, construction, and drones.
Their current count, 11,943 satellite miners in 4,284 cities and 141 countries. I looked up where my dad lives.
Yep.
Still available.
Oh,
so
really?
Guess what? A little late Christmas present, but it's coming, and we're gonna get that going in a little part of Central Rural North Carolina.
Oh my God, he's getting a miner for Christmas.
That's also a present to my nephew, who is very interested in geospatial. And,
that's so cool.
That's kind of a project that they're going to do. To find out more, go to geonet.com. Check out the map. Check out where you can buy a miner. You can get going today. You can start earning on some crypto, and it's a pretty cool thing. I know everyone's got a little weird some weird thoughts about crypto, but regardless, this adds value, adding more to the system, adding more to the network. It's a really cool thing.
Yeah. The gift that keeps on giving.
It really does.
Might say.
It really does.
So what you're telling me is that next week when we do the count, it's going to be 11,944.
Well, if you get yours going
45.
up, if you get yours going up in Pine,
it's available. I'm getting one.
Too. Yeah.
Yep. And 2 more cities. As well. Yeah, we're gonna make this happen for sure. All right, let's get our guest in here. This week, of course, sponsored by Trimble Geospatial. Again, welcome back, Trimble Geospatial.
I know, right?
They are the best. Dedicated.
I do have to say one thing really quick.
Please do.
10 minutes, guys. We did still did that in 10 minutes.
See, it actually sped things up.
Nice and tight.
It'll get tighter as we go. It'll flow a little bit more smoothly.
Good job, guys.
Not a bad start. All right. Trimble Geospatial, dedicated to big thinking innovation. Together with their worldwide distributor partners, the Trimble Geospatial team is working with current and future generations of surveyors for a more sustainable future. To find out more, of course, go to trimble-geospatial.com. All right. Our guest this evening, this is the third stint on the show.
Wow. Yeah, he's 2 more away from his 5-timers jacket.
He gets the jacket, right?
The jacket.
Yes, the jacket. Oh, Sean. The promises you make.
I know, right?
We've got Mikel Bowman with us. Mikel's from Bloomington, Indiana. As for his job, he's president at Bowman Legacies. He's a best-selling author, coach, keynote speaker, leadership development coach, business coach, personal development coach, life coach, and mentor. Basically a cultural guru, as some may say.
Yes.
His hobbies and his passions include focusing on living and experiencing life and helping you grow as a leader, both at home and at work. I absolutely love that. Mikel, welcome back to the Geoholics.
Oh, super happy to be back, Kent.
It's been a bit. It seems like, I think we had you here. Was it last year or maybe the year before? I think it's become an annual thing at this point.
I think so. I think it's been I think this is the 3rd year in a row. But
I think it is. I think it is.
You get to be on so many podcasts after a while. You're like,
yeah.
But I know that the Geoholics have a special place in your heart, and it's by far the top podcast that you like to come back to.
100%.
Yep. Warms the cockles, as they say. Right?
Sure.
So you got a lot of stuff going on. I love following you on social media, LinkedIn in particular. If you're not following Mikel and Bowman Legacies, you absolutely have to, because tons of inspirational things happening. And I love living vicariously through you and your travels and the impact that you're making on people.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, last year was a very busy year for us. Operationally, we decided we're going to slow it down a little bit this year as far as the travel is concerned. We've got some plans going on in the future here, and getting an app going for our organization, and and some other things, so that people around the world can access good information. Wow,
that's awesome. And this has come a long way. I remember when we first started talking about Bowman Legacies, it's kind of like it's in its infantile state. And man, oh man, talk about the growth that you've experienced.
Really, I tell you, it's so funny how a business demands what it wants. I mean, we did all kinds of things when we first started, and we had this huge menu, and it just kind of dwindled and dwindled and dwindled and dwindled and dwindled to where people really needed. And what we find we're doing more than else, because I've mentored safety teams and still do, but mentored safety teams and all kinds of what really I'm doing is coaching a lot of just executive teams, presidents of organizations and things like that. And so it's really developed because I was doing a lot of individuals, and now it just seems like I'm coaching business and business teams on how to grow and how to lead properly. Yeah, this thing just keeps changing and molding, and I found that sometimes certain things just want what they want, and you know what your giftings are, so just let it go. And it's been super fun to do that and very impactful.
Oh, I was just going to say, with the leadership thing that you're doing, are you finding that because you're focusing on the upper management and stuff now, that they've come up through the ranks and don't understand how to manage people and how to work with people?
I think that we've just, in our industries, and it doesn't matter where, because I've had chemicals companies, I've coached, goodness gracious, all software companies, dirt world companies. And the thing that we're seeing here at Legacies is that there's such a basis on production. And a lot of times when someone's really great at their job, you want to promote them. But a lot of times you're not giving them the tools to lead the human element around them. And so there's a lot of lag time. And we all say this: time is money. And it really is. And a lot of the time is missed on just chain of command, poor communication, people undermining things unintentionally because they're just not in the know. They just don't understand. And so there's a huge basis on just teaching people how to clearly communicate. And one of the things that I am seeing is, you have these graduates from business school and things like that, and they're taught elements of leadership, but they're not taught age-old leadership, just respectful, soft skills on how to take care of people. And I hate that word soft skills, it's such a buzzword. And, it was just, especially when you come from the dirt world, but it's true. Just how to handle dealing with different personalities and how to utilize and find the best in people and help them to shine. A lot of the times we feel like when we're the leader, we've got to be the one who shines. We've got to be the one who gets all the innovation. And what we find is businesses are just dying because they're hoping one person comes up with innovation, and they're just bottlenecking leadership. And when we open that up, we're seeing, massive growth, massive inspirational, fast growth. It's truly unbelievable when you open up that chain of command, you start to lead properly, and you start to fill people with hope and purpose in their jobs. What can actually happen?
Yeah, I like that. So it's kind of like a funnel, right? Is what you're kind of talking about. I like that analogy a lot. And leadership, correct me if I'm wrong. It's not just at the executive level. Leadership, everybody's a leader in their own way.
Everyone's a leader. If you think about it today, you could be the quote unquote lowest guy at work or gal at work, but the fact is you're leading your life. And if you're married and you've got kids, you're leading your family. You're always making leadership decisions every single day. And unfortunately, what we've done is we have forgotten these age-old concepts of teaching people how to lead both at home and at work, because they're one and the same. They don't make any there's no separation. I can't stand it when someone said today to me that they used to say their employees leave that stuff at home. Well, it doesn't work that way. The human psyche and the human mind doesn't work that way. It's like a computer that's always running these programs in your mind. And so we have to start to get innovative on how we help our people to move forward and how to help them to grow at home and at work.
Yeah. It comes full circle, right? What happens at home plays a part at what happens at work.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Are we okay?
Yeah, keep going.
So this is probably a good opportunity to bring up your book, Lead from the Middle, and the concept of just that. You want to talk about that just a little bit?
So I wrote this book so that someone from high school could pick it up and be a quick read for them. And I wrote it in such a way that a CEO could get challenged back into getting the dirt with his people. And the concept of lead from the middle is just the fact that when we're out there in the field, a lot of the times we feel abandoned by executives because they're not in the dirt with us. They don't always know what we go through when we're out there. And what I found by leading in the middle, in other words, just taking that helm of leadership, teaching myself through great books from like John Maxwell and Jocko Willink and different leadership books, and then picking up those concepts and just running with them without someone actually having to tell me to do it. And then what you find is, even if you're in a quote unquote bad company, as you lead from right where you're at, right in the middle, the culture of things change. And it's like a good kind of virus. It's contagious, and people start feeling hope. And that's predominantly what the book is about. When I talk about what not to do as a leader, I give you lists on what to do as a leader to measure yourself up against that. And as a matter of fact, of being here on this podcast, I want to give all you GO people something free today at bowmanlegacies.com/great leader. That's bowmanlegacies.com/great leader. I want to give you a list. It's a PDF list just for you guys so that you can measure yourself up and say, hey, how am I doing on this list? Am I doing these things, or am I not doing these things? And I think that in order to truly affect your area, stop complaining about what the executive staffers are doing and start leading right where you're at. You're going to see your atmosphere change overnight. It can happen overnight, and it just takes one person. And I know it can be so overwhelming, especially you're on that job site where everything's going sour, or you're in that office where everything just seems like it's imploding around you. But man, if you can lift your head and you can get out of the doldrums, so to speak, and start thinking positively, start moving forward with some joy in your heart, and start leading on a high level, it's amazing what will happen. And other people notice, and it inspires the right people, and then you won't be alone. And not only that, other people notice, because I know when I started to lead from the middle, other businesses noticed. When I would go to sites, they would see the way I was leading and how culture would change wherever I went. People were offering me jobs. This is a phenomenal way for you to move yourself forward. Just take that responsibility yourself. Get Lead from the Middle. Get that book. It's a great book for you. And I've heard so many people, especially in the blue collar world, say, I'm not a big reader. Man, I'm telling you, this is the easiest read you have. There's some humor in there too. So it's not just all dogmatic lessons every day, because I feel like, joy is probably laughter is one of the best medicines. So there's some great stories in there for you.
It's a great book. I have read it.
Thank you.
When's it going to be audio so Kent will actually get to listen to it?
He does.
I've been asked that a lot. I'm working on a new book this year, and so I don't know, but it's definitely on the horizon. I hope.
Well, it's well worth the read.
I'll send you one, Ken. I'll sign one.
I've got one, but it's not signed. So I'll take you up on the autograph version.
That's why he hasn't read it yet.
Yeah.
Michael, I do have a question. And how do you respond to, because you said something key there. It's obviously in the middle and not worrying about what the executive, how do you respond to the question of why should I care? And why should I do this if because everyone always waits for it
Right.
to be top down, and I may be spilling some of the beans out of the book, but how do you respond to that why should I care question?
That why should I care usually comes from someone who's so jaded and so hurt by what's been going on. They just feel hopeless. And I'm going to tell you, I've been the why should I care. I have to be honest. I don't come from this idea and insult your podcast by saying I've got all the answers. And I've always just been the positive energy, but always been the guy who's just after it, trying to do the best he could. And that's not true. I've also been that guy that just felt hopeless and like, man, look, this is a sinking ship. I'm just looking to get off of here. Why should I care? And I was asked that one time when I was mentoring a young man that was pretty hopeless. Everyone thought he was hopeless. And I just didn't. I saw greatness in this kid. We were actually, in a somber note, we were in California during the Santa Ana winds, just like they are now. So God bless those people. Our prayers are with them right now.
Wow.
I've worked in those places, and that's, yeah. So that area in LA I've been to. And so, man, God bless you guys. I love you and I'm praying for you. But so I'm in California, and, no one wanted to invest in this kid. Everyone wanted to just keep him in a haul truck or just keep him oiling and greasing equipment. But I saw something in him. I saw hurt in him, and I just kept pouring in him when everyone else was saying, don't do it. And this kid ended up rising up. He ended up becoming a foreman and a project manager and moving on to a great career outside of that company. So I did it because it's the right thing to do. Why should I do it? It's because it's the right thing that we should do. We should, in all intensive purposes, when we sign on, we should say our integrity and our honor must stay intact. And I said I was going to do this, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to invest in this person, even though they're D3, they're day 3, and they're probably not going to make it to day 10. But I am going to invest in this person because it's the right thing to do. And you never know. There are times where I have met guys I didn't like. I didn't care for them. I thought they were hopeless, but I invested in them anyway. And I watched them become a diamond. I watched them just absolutely shine after a while, because you know what? All they needed was hope and someone just to act like they were interested in them. Someone just to say, hey, you've got greatness in you, and I see it. I know it's there. I know you have potential, but it's up to you to live up to it. I'll hang in there with you. I met a guy named James up there on that mountain in the Diablo mountain range. And James had just came out of the Marine Corps. James was part of a 1%er biker club. James was hopeless, and he was in the haul truck, and you guys know how it is in the dirt world. It's everybody wants to be in the hoe or the dozer. You know what I mean? No one wants to stay in the haul truck. We can't do it without you haul truck drivers. God bless you. Mm-hmm. And, I saw greatness in this guy. Now he's an executive for a bank organization. I hadn't heard from him for years, and he contacted me. He said, "Hey, can you talk in front of 2,000 people on Zoom for one of our conferences? I'm the head of getting talent to come in and speak to our people." Then I hadn't talked to the guy in like 3 years, but he just kept going because he said, "Michael, I'm telling you, you had hope in me when no one else did. And for some reason," he said, "that made me move forward. It made me believe in me." And I really believe, especially in society right now, we're all getting beat down. We watch this stupid thing way too much, and we doom scroll and watch some of the biggest garbage. We need to be investing in each other. We need to be thinking for ourselves. And even if that executive staff isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, it doesn't mean you say, "Why should I?" You should, because it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Powerful.
Well, we're just hoping some of those clips on that doom scrolling actually come up with Michael saying exactly that.
Exactly.
It's a little counterintuitive, but.
So, Michael, I got a question for you. I mean, I personally have been very fortunate to work for some amazing leaders, right? But I've seen some really crappy.
Thanks, Kent. I appreciate that. That is so nice of you.
Present company aside, I don't want to go to his head, but there's also some really crappy leaders out there, right? Like I've seen some leaders that are actually intimidated by the folks underneath them being good leaders. Have you seen that as well?
Oh man, I've seen Ivy League people come in and watch guys who barely had a high school education just smoke them in leading people and feel very intimidated, and watch those Ivy League people be manipulative and undermine those people so they didn't shine as well. And the good deeds that they were doing were not being told to the president and investors of companies. I have seen this in companies that I've worked for. My clients, I've had guys that were just so intimidated by someone else. But what I find is that's fear and ego leading. And I've done that before. I've seen somebody have talent that I didn't have and be like, "Man, why don't I have that talent? Why can't I be that good at that?" But what helps, I think, is putting that aside and realizing that integrity pulls you forward. And when you manipulate and undermine because you're jealous, man, that's hard work. And you have to be so manipulative and so conniving, and you have to amp that up all the time. Whereas when you lead with integrity and honor, and you see someone who's doing something better than you, and you praise them and uplift them, and you make them shine in the front of others, your integrity shines with it. And you add value in your team at that moment. And so for me, man, when I see somebody doing something that I could have never, like I've coached people and they do something that I never coached them to do. They did something so phenomenal and outstanding that I can't wait to tell the president of the company. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this was this guy or this gal's, this is all their own. You can't believe what they did." And in that moment, you're just helping the team as a whole. We have to start to realize that any part of the time we're part of a team, we're part of a whole thing. And if this guy prospers, so do you. So do you.
Yep. That person's going to make you look good.
Yeah, that's a big thing in some companies, that they sort of just look at it from the top down, and they can't see that keeping everybody else happy and supporting them actually improves the business as a whole.
And I'm curious, but what you're just saying, what are some of the traits that those middle leaders have that you can identify? Because you said that example of the Ivy League guy that was so intimidated by the lower guy that obviously was a clear leader. How did you identify that, or how do people identify that in somebody that you wouldn't expect to be a leader?
I'll never forget. I was at a job site and there's all these masculine big guys, and there was a skinny itty bitty little kid. And everybody was just looking over him, and he was just a skint of a kid. I bet he 106 pounds soaking wet, but he was 20 years old, but he's a little bitty thing. And everyone was looking over him because he was very, what we say in the Midwest, very persnickety. He was just, everything was just so, and everything, his shirt was just right. But what we found was he was one of the most organized guys in the whole group. And then what I started to realize and listening on the radio chatter, that he was always pointing out safety things along the way, and he was doing it respectfully. And what this kid had a deep sense of was show up to work and do my job because I said I would. And these are budding leaders. Now, there are people sometimes where you really have to coach hard. You've really got to groom some. You've really got to pull them along the way. But this kid was just needing the opportunity to have some authority and be taught and to be shown just a little bit. Those people who are showing up to work and they're doing it consistently and they have a deep sense of self already. Those are those we say natural born leaders. There's no such thing. Great leaders, I've always said this, are forged in the fires of adversity. They truly are. But these are those guys that show those qualities that it's going to be low hanging fruit and a lot easier to coach them because they already have certain concepts. I work with people from Maine, and I've worked with people from the Midwest. And what we find a lot of the times is these guys that were raised on farmland, they already have this deep sense of self and what their work and what the work of their hands means. And there's a lot of integrity to that. And those people are easy to lead. They really are, because they've already come to the job site with, look, I'm not stealing from the job site. Hey, I'm not yelling at people. Hey, that's just no way to do things. Hey, my hard work matters. And if my name's on it, I want it to look good. I want it to feel good. I want it to be right. And so those are those people that are, quote unquote, easy to grow as leaders because they've already been instilled something either by their faith, their family, their community.
All right, Geoholics, got to introduce a new friend of the program this year, Aerotech Mapping. Aerotech Mapping has been supplying high-quality geospatial solutions, services, and support for the AEC industry since 2002. They've completed projects across the U.S. and abroad using the latest technology and resources combined with a highly educated and experienced staff. They specialize in large-scale, design-level photogrammetry for a variety of sectors within the AEC industry, including aviation, transportation, energy, commercial development, mining, public works, and wastewater, just to name a few. Their mapping is produced under the direct supervision of an ASPRS certified photogrammetrist, and they've invested in the latest equipment and technology to ensure that they meet their clients' challenging demands. At Aerotech Mapping, they take great pride in the work they do, all created by an amazing team of professionals. To find out more, visit atmlv.com.
What you're saying, Michael, is that there's something to be said about Midwest values and work ethic.
Oh, come on.
They came from Chicago. I mean, I'm saying there might be something to that.
Yeah.
What about those ones that you get that haven't been taught that, haven't had that instilled in them? How do you raise that positivity? How do you get them into that mindset of being able to, you might see something, but how do you actually go ahead and help mentor them and grow them?
I was one time a foreman had told a kid to go change his tire, his work truck tire. It was flat. So I watched this kid and for a long time, and we're up, around this work trailer. And I've told this story so many times, but he's, kind of looking around the truck and he's opening the door and shutting it. And I realized something. He did not have a clue on how to change a tire. Now, anybody that I know on a job site would have just mocked him. They would have just thought he was worthless. They would have thought there is no way this kid will ever amount to anything. So I just kind of stopped what I was doing. I was like, hey, guys, I'm going to go hang out with this young man. So I go over there and hang out with him. And I said, hey, bud, can I ask you a question? He's like, yeah. And I go, shame the devil, tell the truth. He's like, okay. And I go, do you know how to change a tire? And he's like, no, man, I don't. And I say, I tell you what, we're going to sit here and talk. I'm going to walk you through it, but we're just going to act like we're talking and you're going to change this tire. And I'm going to teach you how. And I said, that way the guys over there won't know.
Yeah.
And we'll do this. And for him afterwards, just investing in him.
Yeah.
And seeing greatness. Now, I'm telling you, I have coached, counseled people coming out of federal prison. I have coached and counseled people that had made meth at times in their lives. One particular man had lost his kids, and I was at Lightem and helped them get their children back. Anybody would say someone who's a drug dealer and doing all those things was worthless. This man owns a multi-million-dollar roofing company now, and he has a whole fleet of brand new 3/4 ton pickup trucks. And he's got $1 million worth of equipment just sitting in his small roofing yard, and that doesn't include what he's got out all over the Midwest right now. It's about investing in those people, even when you don't see anything great in them. And what we tend to do, no matter what profession that we're in, after we've been in it for a while, we forget where we came from. We forget those moments where we didn't know anything. And we forget what it was like for people to have to be patient with us. And when we do that for people, they're not used to it. And it's intoxicating. People want to serve that mentality. Now, sure, you're going to have those people who are going to use you. You're going to have those people, you're going to rise up and they're going to move out to someplace else. You're going to have people who are absolutely going to stab you in the back. But here's the thing. You've got to start to prepare that heart in such a way that when you hold it out in front of you and someone sticks a fork in it, you go, did that make you feel any better?
Yeah.
I love it.
Did that make you feel any better?
Yeah.
Because my heart is right and it's strong and it can handle that. You just pluck that thing out and you keep moving because it's the right thing to do. We can't get distracted with the kid who didn't make it. We can't get distracted with the guy who stabbed you in the back. We can't get distracted with, oh, I mentored and poured myself into that guy and he went to another company. Well, he did what was right for him. What we must get our head wrapped around is the consistency of shining that light as leaders consistently, no matter what, and investing in that guy who seems worthless to the team because you have no idea he might be your next CEO.
Wow.
Could be.
Yeah. So what do you say to, the phrase, people don't leave companies, they leave their managers or their leaders? Is that a true statement?
I disagree with that to a certain degree. Yes, I think that's true, but I also think it's a very surfaceable statement because I think a lot of people leave for better opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched people who loved their job and cried the day they left, but they knew this was a better opportunity for their families. And maybe this wasn't the job that they really wanted to stay at, but they knew that, hey, this was their shot to go try this particular place and go there. But yes, I do believe that in our hearts and our minds, we're gone long before we quit. If you have a corrosive manager, I'm telling you, if that guy can't or that woman can't be brought up, that person can't be brought up to the level that you want, it is better to move them on to someplace else. And that in and of itself might shock their system enough to want to grow into that next place and become better. Even I worked with a company and they had this rock star. This guy was making them all kinds of money, but he was a horrible person and he was morally bankrupt. And every guy hated him. I mean, I had people calling me saying, I'm on a trip with this guy and I'm probably going to beat the crap out of him. And I'm going, no. Wait. No. We're not going to do that. We're just talk it through with me and I'll get you through it, buddy. And just some of the unscrupulous things that this guy was doing. But the company refused to fire him because he was making them money. And that was all there is to it. And we have got to get our heads wrapped around, what is this really about? What is your company about? And I've seen in selling their culture about being the best business in their culture. And they've got this great culture. They've got this great organization, but they're morally bankrupt. And it's really just about production. It would be better off for you to say that when you're recruiting people up front. That, hey, we travel all the time. You're never going to be home. We want you to be a workaholic for us because there's somebody who actually wants to be there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. We're not going to get rid of the corrosive guy. So,
right.
Put up with it. And I think the thing is, those people can be a cancer. And so, I think people do leave bad managers. They leave bad leaders. But man, I'm going to tell you something. If you can learn from those bad leaders, that's half the battle. If you can learn what not to do from that person in market, stop hating them over it. Stop hating that company for being terrible. Stop hating that CEO for being terrible. Stop hating that foreman, that superintendent, whatever it is, the office manager, and start to learn and mark that and say, okay, these are the things I'm not going to be.
Yeah.
If he's horrible, you're learning half of what it takes to be great by not doing what he or she is doing. That's
awesome. What you mentioned Jocko earlier. I'm a huge Jocko fan, and I pulled up this quote that I love. He said, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it, true leaders aren't in charge of everything. In fact, true leaders aren't in charge of anything.
No, it's true. Control is an illusion. And control and wanting to control things is a fear response. When we have perfectionists in business or people that are hovering all the time or micromanaging, they're very fearful people. They're fearful of systems getting out of control instead of leading in a proper direction and way. And what I found is the more that I entrust people to do something, the thing that I'm hoping to do becomes less one-dimensional. And when they put their flavor and their love into it, it grows 10 times more. It grows 10 times more when you allow someone to lead. And then if they falter, or if they don't do something up to snuff, you train them and go, okay, hey, that was great. This is the wonderful things that you did. And this is where things kind of went sideways and got off the rails a little bit. So let's make those adjustments. So next time we do even better, and encourage them to move forward. When you control, you suck the life out of everything. You suck the life out of everything. People don't have the opportunity to be creative, to pour themselves into it. When I've been in an executive position and looked at someone who was quote unquote subordinate to me and asked them, what do you think? What's your thoughts? Well, how would you solve this problem? You wouldn't believe. They were like, me? It stutters them at first because they're used to being told all the time, being told what you to do, being told how to do things. Never, how would you do this? How would you approach it? What would you do in my position? And so just that controlling like that just really does suck the life out of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in that situation that you just shared, I mean, I think that humility plays a huge part in that as a leader.
Yeah. The moment we feel like we have to have all the ideas, innovation dies. You realize that?
It goes back to that. I know we talked about it before, the concept of being a servant leader.
Yep.
And that quote of, I think it's a true leader sets the expectation, and at the end gives praise, and everything in the middle is being a servant. Just say, this is what we need. Tell them they did a good job after it's done, and everything in the middle is helping. Yep. And that's what, and it takes a different kind of a leader to do that. It's hard.
Agreed, for sure.
I do want to ask a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Specifically about culture. And it's one of those buzzwords. I feel that we've lost the definition a little bit because everybody talks about it. It's the number one question I get from 18 to 25-year-old interviews is, talk about your culture. What is your culture like? So I'm curious on from Michael, what's your perspective now on it has workplace culture lost some of the meaning because it's such an overused term, or how do you still, because now it's a thing. Everyone talks about culture. Everyone wants to be where has that evolved in the last 5 years?
I'd say about 90% of people that mention culture don't know really what they're talking about.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Most people haven't a clue. And when we look at the word culture itself, we look at where it stems from and we have an understanding of it. Let's just look at history. The Mycenaeans were before the Greeks. They were a culture. They were a fishing culture. They believed in the Minotaur. They believed in, and so, there was all these different things that this culture did. And it's just a study of that culture. It's neither what's good or what's bad. The word culture does not compute to what's good or bad. It computes to how we do things, how the Mycenaeans did things, how we do. And I've seen a lot of people refute that, and that they could not be more wrong as you just look at the historical concept of the word culture and what it actually means and what it's all about. And so we bastardize these words. We call people savages. That guy's a savage. But what does that mean? Oh my gosh, it does not mean what you're saying. That guy's a warrior. Oh, he's a true warrior. Is he? Has he killed anyone lately? Has this guy went to battle? You mentioned Jocko Willink. That guy's a warrior.
He's a warrior.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so the word culture just simply means it's just the computing of how things are done. I remember doing a podcast with a president of a company. We're talking about great culture, and someone had just trolled us. And he said, "Man, we've got a great culture. There's 6 of us. I got a small construction company. We all chase girls. We're all married, and we all drink beer." And that's what he said. We love it.
Awesome culture. Love it.
It works for you, right?
Oh, dear.
But here's the thing. To him, that was a phenomenal culture.
Yeah.
What you must do is diagnose the culture you want and then diagnose where you're at. You cannot go anywhere in this world unless you've got this stupid thing to tell you, Google Maps to tell you where to go. But you can't go anywhere in this world if you don't know where you're at. I talked to a president of a company 2 months ago, and he talked about how great their culture was. He said, Michael, you know how great our culture is. Well, the funny thing about that was I had just talked to 4 other contractors that were working simultaneously on job sites with them and someone who had hired them for a job. And they had all told me simultaneously, I've never seen more miserable workers in my life. And I've never seen such shoddy work in my life. And I cannot stand working with this particular contractor. And I didn't have the heart at the moment to tell him because he was so lost in the idea that he thought they had a great culture. But when in reality, they were falling apart. Now, if that's what you like, that's a good culture to use. So in many aspects, culture is subjective.
Sure.
It's subjective. And for you, you might have liked the company that flew you all over the country. You did cheers and beers all the time with the client. You were out doing these things and you were gone all the time, but then you found somebody you couldn't live without. And then you had a kid and now you want to be home more. That culture doesn't suit you anymore. Mm-hmm. It's not good for you.
Hey there, Geoholics. Let's talk about one of our newest and most exciting friends of the program, Hexagon. Hexagon is the global leader in digital reality solutions, combining sensor, software, and autonomous technologies. Their solutions free their customers to harness the rapidly increasing amounts of data, putting it to work to boost efficiency, productivity, quality, and safety across industrial, manufacturing, infrastructure, public sector, and mobility applications.
That was a freaking mouthful, buddy.
Right.
Hexagon's strategy targets the rapidly widening gap between the enormous amounts of data being created and the world's ability to harness it. That's a massive challenge right now. For more than a decade, literally billions of things, sensors, and devices are being connected to the internet. Their unique approach is to create value by freeing their customers to actually use all this data to put it to work in new world-changing ways.
Yeah, you said one of our favorite phrases, they're creating value. Yep. And their goal is to empower their customers with the freedom to use data to its greatest potential, the freedom to innovate, the freedom to thrive, the freedom to ensure a sustainable planet for future generations. To learn more, simply visit hexagon.com and follow them at HexagonAB.
And tell them the Geoholic sent you.
So does that mean a company's culture or what an employee looks for in a culture can evolve, right? It's not just, this is our culture, like it seems like it's such a stagnant thing. It's, you got to put it on your website. That's what you have to live with. And then when you're asked the question, this is our culture because that's how it's been. And this is how it can change. And that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
100%. And we look at things so linearly as if this is my business and this is what I do and it's in a box. This is what you do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Your business is a living, breathing organism. Once it starts doing business and starts working, it's going to grow just like any child, just like any creature, and it's going to change and evolve. And as it does, you can either accept that or hold tight onto those reins and manipulate and force that thing into some kind of box. But the more you free yourself up on it and you allow yourself to breathe a little bit, not be so controlling and realize that this thing needs to evolve so you can innovate and stay relevant in the field that you're in. I'll never forget this investor telling me about this new office they were building. I'm so excited. We're going to have the best culture ever. We've got a beer tap in the office. And I was like,
awesome.
Okay, these guys are kids. They've got way too much money and they don't know what they're doing. And I'll never forget walking with a new foreman to the company who had just left a really good job to be with this company. And we walked around the corner. There's the beer tap. He sees it and he said, "Oh, Michael." I said, "What?" And he goes, "What have I done?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You have a beer tap in the office." I'm like, I don't. I didn't put it there. He goes, "Michael, I am a raging alcoholic."
Oh, jeez.
And he said, just seeing that thing and realizing what I've just put myself into.
Yeah.
So for him, it was a horrible culture. For the investor, he couldn't wait to have beer at the end of his day,
That's so funny. Well, unfortunately, we have a tap handle right here in the corner of our studio. What does it say about our culture there, Sean?
Well, our culture is it hasn't worked in over a year because it has an air leak and you haven't fixed it. So that's it right there.
You know what? I'm going to add that to the to-do list.
Yeah. No, that's why they drink the mezcal all the time.
Well, that and we had some mezcal tasting about a year ago, and we've been
hooked ever since. Exactly. Hey, Michael, I got a question for you. I've been working through a book called "The Lost Art of Listening."
Yeah, I've seen this book.
Yeah, amazing. Talk about the importance of listening as a leader.
In the book, Lead from the Middle, I talk about that right in the very beginning of the book. And spoiler alerts here for those of you guys who haven't read it. At 3 a.m. in the morning, I get a phone call, and I'm in the Midwest, and this guy's in California. He's one of our foremen, and he has a gun in his hand.
Wow.
And he's going to kill himself.
Yeah.
And what I had learned from the counseling lifestyle is that people speak things and say things, but you've got to listen to what they're actually saying. We're taught very young to put this front on that the real me can't come out because the real me's been made fun of. He's been teased. He's been ridiculed his whole life. So I'm going to build this thing called Michael that you see before you, but it's not really who I am. It's the one that I think you're going to accept. And so you've got to sit there and listen. And one of the things during that moment, I had to listen and try to find out where he was. And I could hear rain. I could hear air conditioners kicking on and off. I could hear that sound reverberating against concrete walls. And I could hear highway noise. Then I was able to pinpoint right where he was. So I could tell his friends who lived close by, hey, we have a man in distress. Here he is. This is what's going on. And if he sees lights or a cop go over that wall, he's going to shoot himself. He has a live firearm in his mouth right now.
Wow.
You've got to start to listen to people. And that's because in every walk of life, I have coached people who have lost kids because they didn't listen, their own children. They didn't listen. And those kids either won't have anything to do with them or they're not on the planet anymore because they didn't listen. We go through life so blindly. We think that, all because I'm doing a certain thing and I'm not smoking crack and I'm going to work every day, so I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. We have to stop life and look around. It's called situational awareness. And we have to start to listen to people to what they're actually saying. And that's a skill. That's a practice. That takes time and that takes effort. And that's why in business, we don't like doing it because we don't like things that take time. We don't like things that take effort. We like things that produce.
And produce on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's powerful. Highly recommend the book, by the way. I'm only like halfway through it, but what an incredible read. Listen. I'm sorry.
You're a listener. What's the name?
The Lost Art of Listening. Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. I was talking to a gentleman who's a business coach now. He's one of our business coaches at David Evans. And he's like, I have always been one of those people that have 300 self-help books on the shelf, right? He goes, not that long ago, I got rid of every single one of those books. And the only book I held on to was The Lost Art of Listening, because that's how important it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think you learn a lot from listening to people, and you don't have to do anything, right? You don't have to do anything. But if you want to be an impactful leader, you want to see your business go to higher heights than you ever thought it possibly can. I'm going to tell you, you need to learn to listen to your people, because how else are you going to know what they go through? I've had a friend of mine who in the early days of Toyota being here, he had an uncle that worked at a Toyota plant, and the Toyota family would actually have some of their family members there. And they had this process where they would, one of the people with the last name Toyota would come into the plant and they would look at one process and they would paint literally on the floor a circle, and they would stand in that circle for 4 hours and not speak a word, because all they would do was watch that part of the plant and see how they worked. The next step that they did was went and listened to that worker and their ideas of innovation. And between those two, the observation and the listening, they innovated and they grew so fast doing that. And it was just a simple process of, what does this guy need? What does he go through? What does she go through? What do they feel? What's their process like? And then what do they think? So their innovation came from the people doing the work.
Yep.
So Michael, as a coach, how do you tap into these people and get them to understand the listening part or the mentoring part, or seeing those different things in people, because you've got so many people with different personalities, the way that they work, the way that they think, and some people who think that their way is the right way. How do you change their mindset?
I think using yourself as an example of when you failed. I do that a lot because, like I said, I've not always known how to lead. I was a yeller when I first started. I've literally gotten in fist fights at work, in my early years. And
I was a door slammer.
Yeah.
Was?
I have not slammed a door in 6.5 years.
6.5 weeks.
Well done, Sean.
Thank you. I didn't want to interrupt, but go ahead.
Sorry.
Okay. What I realized is I was a very fearful person, even with the martial arts background and as an outdoorsman and being in very precarious situations. I didn't think I was fearful, but I realized I was, and I was not in control of my emotions. And when I learned that I wanted to really lead on a high level, I needed to manage my emotions, and I needed to be sympathetic with other people. And when I start a coaching process, no matter where anybody is in that queue, it takes trust. They first have to trust me that I am actually there to help them, and that takes time. And when a company is willing to invest in somebody like that, it takes a couple of weeks sometimes. And I've dealt with every single character from I don't care, I'm just here for my own money, I'm here for myself to progress my career, I can't stand other people, to taking 6 months with that guy and turning him around, because it takes trust and it takes love. Guys, that's what it takes. He's got to know I love him. He's got to know that I am there to help him, that I'm going to link shields with that guy and see him through thick and thin, that we're not going to just talk about work. Home's going to come up at some time. And he's got to know consistently that I'm there for him. And that's what any leader, if you got a guy who's just a rock star, but they're not killing it on the people part, they're not killing it on that leadership part, and you're not going to get a coach to help them, you're not going to get a consultant to come in to help them, then you need to be the one to get in the guts, the blood, the glory in there with them, be patient with them. And they've got to establish the fact that you love them, and that is why you're bringing these concepts to them. I've said this forever since I was a safety guy. I say it now. The pathway to having your people work with their hands the way that you want them to, whether it's safely or efficiently, the pathway to the hands is the heart. The pathway to the heart is through the head. This is the gateway right here. And they have got to see that you care, because they're constantly waiting for the other shoe to fall, especially if you're a passive aggressive leader. One day you're all love. I love you. I couldn't do this, guys, without you. And the next day, you guys all suck and this is terrible and we're sinking. There's no consistency there. And so all those I love yous literally mean nothing. They mean nothing.
Love you too, Shorty.
And I appreciate you bringing that up, because safety came up a lot today. There was a fatality in the Phoenix area, and
Really?
It was a water truck driver.
Oh my gosh. Did not know that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, from what we could tell, when wearing the seatbelt, got a little ran off the road a little bit. Load started wobbling. We're not really sure what happened, but
oh wow.
Do you know what kind of site it was on?
It was a typical construction site. He was a dust control water truck operator, and lost his life.
Wow.
Immediately, it was a found and trying to connect, and this is all always leading to a question. Michael, can you talk a little bit about safety culture and how to keep that in the forefront when, you can only talk about safety for so much, but that's just people saying words. How do you keep safety and the importance of safety and a safety culture in the forefront when you're in a dangerous business like we all are?
I think that one of the things that you have to do as a leader is I've went to sites where we had rollovers. I went to sites where we had near misses, and then through staying out of the work trailer and actually being involved in the work constantly, see those diminish by 90%. Things are going to happen. I wasn't there for the water truck. I know some people in that area that do work, and so I'm curious, and I'm hoping that it's. I don't hope it for anybody, obviously, but What you want to make sure is that you don't wait till something like this happens. And if you've ever been on a site where there's not enough of a guy to put in a 5-gallon bucket, I'm sorry, it changes things very quickly. And I hate saying it like that, but that's just the bare bones of it. That's the truth. We tiptoe too much around this subject.
Yeah.
I think safety is, we also, as businesses, we talk about how we have the safety team and then we have the production team. And we don't say, no, we just have the team. And we separate safety and work as if they're two different things. They're one and the same, and they need to be integrated. And I think a lot of the times too, what we get is we get too much in our industries, that tongue in cheek, be safe out there, but this is the load counts I need.
Right.
Right. And so, when that feeling comes from the top, it's felt all the way through. We have got to be sold out the whole route. I'll never forget going to a Martin Marietta site and seeing a video from the president of the company talking about safety and how important it was for him. And I just get a big eye roll. I'm like, yeah, whatever. He's just saying that because he has to. And then finding out through the guys who work there, he's like, no, and regular workers going, no, I've actually met the guy. He came here and he really, really cares about us. And he really cares about safety and us doing the job safe. And so what I came to find out is if you're not sold out from the top, man, you're going to see cracks along the way. And as you grow, you've got to replicate that feeling through your safety team and through your foremen that are looking out for this guy. I'm telling you, I saw one time in a pit in Illinois, Cave and Rock, Illinois. I watched a guy get into a haul truck in flip-flops. He had his undershirt, like cut off shirt on. He was wearing shorts and flip-flops, and he went in to put the truck in the ready line at the end of the day. No hard hat, no vest, no jeans, no steel toe boots. 3 days later, after left the site, this same guy backed off the high wall, and there he rattled around not wearing a seatbelt. He was dumping and went right off the high wall.
Oh, wow.
And it killed him.
Jeez.
And so obviously we've got to be sold out the whole route. Everybody from aft to stern, from beginning to end, from the top to the bottom, we've got to be considering safety because what we do is dangerous.
Yeah,
it really is. And it's one of those things that we talk about a lot and still never talk about it enough. And talking about it is not even a tenth of what really needs to happen. And it has to be something we're active in. And I mean, we put our employees in these positions and just be like, be safe out there. Like exactly like Michael said. And there's a whole different world of be safe out there to actively caring and making a difference and being aware. It's a whole, I mean,
it's just it's so easy to take it for granted, you know? Yeah. I mean, we're all guilty of it.
Do you think as a leader and as an exec, you said that guy came down through to see people and stuff like that. You know, I think that's a big thing for them to see those people down on the ground, and actually not just sitting behind the desk saying be safe, be safe, be safe.
Yeah, it's not a video that they watched. They actually met the guy because he was out on the ground, and that I'm sure that means a lot.
Yeah. I was at a site one time where they talked about the president of the organization is going to be there. He's going to be there. He's going to be there. Sure enough, he came. He came in a helicopter. He was wearing penny loafers. I didn't know people still wore penny loafers. He came out. He was in a set of penny loafers, and he looked around and he looked around. He looked at the pit and back in the helicopter he went, and we never saw him again. And
I think I was on that same site, Michael.
I just kind of, But how great was it for you as a kid when Dad looked at you at any point and said, "I'm proud of you. Yeah, man, look what you did right there." What did that do for you as a kid? I never forget at his baseball game. I crushed one, man. I just boom, and it went up just right up the baseline, went right up over the fence. And I looked back as I'm running to first base. I looked back, and my father was jumping up and down.
Nice.
And for me, dude, I ran all the harder. And the next time I went up to bat, let me tell you something. I gave no mercy to that baseball as it came across the plate. I crushed it again. Why? Because Dad said he was proud of me. Dad was cheering me on. Now, Dad still was willing to have hard conversations with me, right? Accountability is the chief cornerstone of any great culture that's going to move forward holistically and intentionally. And so, I'm not saying throw all that out the door. We need accountability. We need discipline. We need to have that understanding. But at the same time, our people are just used to hearing all the things they do wrong.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's sometimes for some folks, it's hard to do what's right.
So interesting. Let that sink in a little bit.
Well, I'm just still thinking about how I never really had a home run like that. So I don't know what that feeling's like. I was striking out a lot and, some
Such is life, Sean.
Bunt singles. And I realized baseball wasn't my thing. But
if you got to first base, man, the bunt was the deciding factor.
I could get on base, but
maybe
never quite.
Maybe you should have played soccer.
I was more of a track guy, but
hey, Michael, I'm backtracking just a little bit here, but I'm dying to know the answer to this question. You mentioned that as a younger leader, you were kind of that, gruff, slamming the door, just kind of being an ass type leader. What flipped the switch for you to make you more of a servant type leader?
Good question, Kent.
Well,
it's a hard story for me to tell you, but I had moved from Indiana or Florida to Indiana to raise our first daughter because we hated where we were at. It was a very materialistic place to raise a child in this area, a lot of wealthy people, and we just wanted the support of our family, and so to raise a child. So we came home, and I had got the first job I could get, and I worked in a cabinet shop, which I loved. We made stuff for Peyton Manning. We made stuff for, all kinds of people. So it was a really cool place to work, and you never knew what you were going to be involved in. And the manager was a young man, and he was very haughty, and he had been raised in a very wealthy home. And one day he decided to hit me with a stick that was by what we call the stripper saw. I put my lunch pail down. I didn't do anything for him to hit me with it. And he just thought it would be funny. And so I picked up a stick and said, okay, come at me. And I have a particular set of training that allows me to be very efficient and effective in those areas. And I made him come at me for about 10 minutes. And I would break him down at every time he came at me. And I got to the point to where he was crying. I'm very ashamed of it because I got fired over the deal. And they should have called the cops on me. That Christmas, my daughter, I bought her a 60-cent Polly Pocket. And we couldn't even afford to have a dinner. And I put my family in a bad place because I couldn't control my anger. I couldn't control my rage. Now, did that guy deserve it? Yeah, he shouldn't have hit me. But I knew I could whip him every day of his life. Yeah. I knew I could do this. And why just not let it go? Why not let it go? And it put my family in jeopardy. And that changed my life so hard. I remember filling out 67 applications and couldn't get a job. And I remember going into a fabrication shop, and it was just after Christmas in January, and I begged the guy. I pleaded with him. Look, we just built a small house out in the country. My wife is pregnant. She was pregnant with our second. I'm like, please, I'll sweep the floors. I'll lick the floors if you want me to. I'll do whatever it takes to provide for my family. And he looked at me and said, kid, hit the bricks. And that changed my life. I was like, I'm never going back to that again. And I'll be honest, a man by the name of Perry Sanders in a church non-for-profit situation changed my life. He looked at me one day and said, Michael, and it was not too long after this situation, he said, I see greatness in you. I see greatness in you. And I thought, dude, I've just beat a guy, assault with a deadly weapon. I beat him for 10 minutes. I've lost my job. I cannot provide for my family nor feed them. I can't. And you're going to tell me I have greatness within me? I was mad. I was ready to slug him. And he said, no, man, because God made you, brother. And I see that look in your eye because I had it too. And I know right where you're at. And I want to help you. So you asked me earlier, what about that guy who's helpless or just beyond helping? Why invest in him? I was that guy. That's why I invest in him. Yeah. I was that guy. Yeah. That's why you invest in him. Perry sought to invest in me, and I was going nowhere in my life. I had now, from his tutelage and his teaching in my life, I'm a best-selling author. I've been all over the country speaking. I have a worldwide following. just because I decided to put my ego aside and learn, because someone decided to look at me and say, man, you've got greatness in you and I love you. I needed it. I needed it.
So many people need that. Everybody needs that from time to time.
Absolutely.
Right?
Mm.
Absolutely.
Ooh, that was powerful. Michael, so anybody that's listening at this point, if you're not sold on the person that Michael is, the value that he provides, the experience that he's had, I don't know what to tell you, but those folks that do want to find out more, Michael, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Reach out to us on bowmanlegacies.com. Check us out there on LinkedIn. I've got a YouTube. I've got over 300 some on just encouraging videos on what's called Legacy Quest. We're about to change that back over to Bowman Legacies, and we're thinking about starting our podcast back. I've had some health problems, so we've had to decide, what we kind of had to shed and not shed. So I'm starting to get healed back up. But yeah, LinkedIn is a great place to reach out to me, because that's the place that I'm constantly on and put a lot of investments in there as far as my time is concerned. And if you DM me, I'm going to get back with you.
Yeah,
that's just all. I'm not that guy. It might be a month because I'm trying to get through them all, but I will try my best to get back with you, because I don't think so much of myself that there's anybody who's beneath me, because I've been at the bottom. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be there. And if I can lift people up higher than me, that no one can see me, but they can move forward, I've done my job in life.
And I can confirm, I'm fortunate enough to consider Michael a friend, and there's been a handful of times where I've reached out to him for advice, and, he's not wrong. He will respond, and he will provide quality input. And, I can't thank you enough, to be honest with you, Michael.
I love you, brother.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing those, emotional stories.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do, I know, in a lot of times, but it's very, very powerful at the same time.
Peter, do you have anything else?
No, I think there's some things I can take away from this myself.
I've got two things, Michael, if you'll bear with me. One of which is, there's a reason why we love that you're the first guest of the 2025. Yep. So I got to ask for, can you give us something inspiring for the new year? We're all starting out. All of us are kind of getting back into the groove. We've already, if you're like me,
it's a great question.
You're working on budgets for the year, and you're planning for the next year. You're wrapping up the previous year. What can you give us to kind of get going for a new and great year?
2024 is dead and buried. It's far behind you. Stop thinking about it. Learn from it and grow and move forward. Don't sit there down in the dumps about what you didn't do in 2024. But if you have dreams and you want to make those a reality, you have got to take those dreams from the dream mode, where we don't intend to do anything about them. That's just that high and lofty place. We like to look at them. We like to polish it. But if you want that dream to become a reality, you have to turn it into a vision. And once you've turned that dream into a vision, you need to break it down into palatable missions and accomplish one mission at a time. You may not be winning the Oscar, but at least you went somewhere. The old adage of, hey, if you aim for the stars and hit the moon, at least you went somewhere. And what I have found that so many people get down in life that they don't try. And they get upset when they fail. Look, failure is part of life. You must get used to two things: failure and let it teach you. Love failure. It is a great teacher. And love pain, not in a sadist sort of way, but anybody who works out knows pain is valuable and it helps you to grow. Pain brings purpose. Purpose brings progress. Pain brings purpose. Purpose brings progress.
Did you write that one down, Ken?
I know, right?
That's a good
We're
one.
going to get to that. We're going to get to that. What I do want to say, though, is I don't know about you guys, but I feel so lucky and blessed to not only be able to call Michael a friend, but to be part of this conversation.
Absolutely.
So powerful.
I feel lucky that we get the benefit of Michael and some of these words, and I just get to sit here and listen. And it
gives me the chills, man.
Yeah. One last question. You've been here before. You know where we're going. You probably said about 17 of these
that's what I was thinking.
Since we've been on our show, but you got to give me one. Michael, do you have a mantra that you live by?
So I end every podcast with this. I end every post, almost every post with this. It's you need to, if you want to be great, you want to strive to build a legacy that will far surpass your legend so you can inspire others to do the same. And that's how we change the world. Fact of the matter is you're building a legacy one way or another, guys. And I'm not talking about a legacy of money. I'm talking about a legacy of life. And the good deeds you pour into the world replicate itself. So do the bad ones. Decide which side that you want to be on.
So great.
Here.
Sorry,
Sorry, guys.
So good.
I want to emphasize that it means a lot, and it shouldn't be understated.
Absolutely, Michael. Before we let you go, we're being respectful of your time, of course. Is there anything else you want to get out there?
Nah, I just love you guys. And if you're listening to this today and you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do. Look, I'm just going to share something with you. I'm not trying to shove it down your throat, but my faith in Jesus Christ has changed my life. You're looking at a guy who struggled with depression, who has had several suicide attempts in his lifetime, and who sold drugs at one time. I know what it's like to have someone aim a gun at me because I'm in a place I should not be. I've lived a life where I've dipped in times in a place I shouldn't be. If you're hopeless today, if you don't feel unloved today, if you feel unworthy today, I'm going to tell you Jesus absolutely does love you, and so do I. And if you haven't heard it this week, I love you. I love you. There, you heard it. You're loved. And how can I love you? Because I know God loves me. And if he can love this guy, then I can love you too. So don't feel hopeless. Start loving yourself. Start moving forward.
Oh, man. We love you, man.
Good stuff.
So good.
Wow,
so
we love
good.
you too.
What else, Sean? Anything else? Ready to wrap this up?
Anything
I want to keep going because yes,
I know.
exactly.
Let's go.
Anything I say will just be like, oh well, not as good as what he said.
So, I know. Yeah,
let's wrap.
Exactly.
Let's wrap it up and let his words linger on.
Absolutely. All right. Adding value and making friends. We've done it for 5 years. Let's keep it rolling in 2025.
5 years. We're entering year 6, believe it or not.
Oh man. In this case, we not only do we add value, but we made a stronger friendship with Michael,
absolutely.
Which I treasure greatly. If anyone would like to be a guest on a future show, shoot us an email at info@thegeoholics.com. Same email as the last 5 years. We're already booking into the 1st of March, actually.
Yeah, we need some guests for March. So
yeah.
Email us.
Give us a shout. Sad But True, Metallica, available everywhere. Yeah. Until next time, everyone. And I got a little choked up there. I'm sorry. This is normally when I talk about the highlights of the show. Yeah. But this show was one big highlight, to be honest with you.
I couldn't put enough markers in there. So
I know the whole time you're like, mark that, mark that.
Like every time he says something, I'm like, I want people to hear that. But.
Mesmerizing. But as always, most importantly, the way we end every show, be safe and healthy, everyone.
I'm your dream, make you real. I'm your eyes when you must steal. I'm your pain when you can't feel. Stand but true. I'm your truth, telling lies. I'm your reason, alibis. I'm inside.